What is your theory, Stefan? Why does this keep
Well,
happening? I mean, we kind of think, right? We've talked about this before. We kind of think that the best Mexican teams are still a cut above the best MLS teams, perhaps.
yeah.
Even though the average, if you average them all out, the worst MLS team is probably better than the worst Liga MX team, and same at the top. So there's that, and the home court. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that asset. Like, I think their top teams, I guess, at least have deeper rosters or more balanced rosters than our top teams. But their bottom teams can't compete with our teams. I think it's hard to tell because frankly, it's most of the games are here in the United States, and in the United States that gives us an edge. So whenever we do well against Mexican clubs in the United States, we're the hosts.
Right.
So it's like a home. It's a home. We have a home advantage. I think a true sign of a soccer team is how well do you play outside of your country. And MLS clubs historically have proven they can't win anything outside of their country. That's in Mexico mainly, but also Seattle going to when they went to the FIFA Club World Cup, they lost to everybody. They lost to the Moroccan team. They lost to everybody. And it's like, and for whatever reason, look at that, and I'm not surprised. I'm just like, well,
it also seems somehow the culture shock is, because like teams go to Canada all the time in MLS,
yeah,
and so it seems like the culture shock is somehow greater going
well,
to Mexico. And I mean, I had that experience. It's not like I was competing in anything, but when I traveled in Mexico many years ago, to Mexico City, and it's definitely different. Like
yeah.
it's definitely very
But they're
different.
used to it. I don't know, maybe they do the preseasons there. I don't know. Also, they're traveling on quite the budget. They're staying in the nicest hotels. They have a private chef.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it's
the
not a big
altitude, they're only
problem.
there for a couple of days. I mean, a soccer field to soccer field. The altitude is definitely a factor, I think. But I want to bring up a couple things here. But you're
Okay.
alluding to my theory because I think about this a lot. Mexico used to have promotion and relegation. They
Hmm.
suspended that since COVID, so they don't have promotion relegation
I think
anymore.
they're being sued right now to
Right.
reinstate it. Yeah, I read. Yeah.
Right, which is very interesting. They're at the Club of Arbitration of Sport, that mysterious sports legal organization that I still have no real concept of. They are at CAS right now, and the lower league is suing the upper league, or the lower team is suing the upper league, kind of like a Rocco B. Camiso style in a way, where it's like, hey, we
uh,
deserve to be promoted. So that'll be very interesting. But
love a Rocco reference.
Rocco's modern soccer world. Uh, you know, and this is trying to my ADHD brain here. So there's something to that. That's been suspended, but the pressure on a Mexican club is higher. Even though it's been suspended, they historically have promotion relegation. They've got a lot of fans, a lot of press. The pressure, every game counts. The pressure is on a Mexican club. And I believe that environment creates for players just play with a little bit more pep in your step. Because the Liga MX squads, I'm looking at these rosters. They're MLS rosters, man. Like the Argentinian dude who's crushing it, they got him from Midtjylland in Norway.
Hmm.
That's where MLS gets their players from. Mateus Bogusz is a former LAFC player. Was he an LAFC superstar?
Right. No, he was not.
No. And then who's the other one? There was another guy, another MLS guy there too on Cruz Azul last night.
Oh, Giacomakis, he doesn't even start. He was like,
Giacomakis.
yeah. He was a big deal in Atlanta
And I'm looking at
for a minute.
their captain, their number 8, who did that great goal. He's 33-year-old Argentinian league vet who never played for the national team.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, these are the kind of guys. These are our players too. All those guys are also an MLS roster. So it's not like they have these great superstars.
Right.
So I look at that and be like, how could that team is 5-0, no shots on goal, better than Vancouver Whitecaps? And it's got to be the environment. That's firstly. Secondly, something I brought up before, and this leads into something I want to talk about with you, which is my newly discovered passion.
Oh,
The
wait.
Gartman Royce YouTube blog.
I knew this was
So
coming.
I
Wait,
found a
how does
treasure trove
this
of
relate?
access.
Please tell us.
I,
Okay.
I'm getting there. I'll get there in just a second.
Okay.
I found this great new treasure trove. We're back in the old days of cable before internet. This would have been like a 10-part cable series that hard to find. Marco Royce's wife blogs their life in LA, and it
Mm.
is so cool and so great. I have so much to say about it. I love this show. It's done so well. It's like a freaking lifestyle show. And it
And
blogs the
it's auf
life and
Deutsch,
times
right? We should say it's
auf Deutsch.
yeah, it's in
Although
German.
I had to switch off auto dubbing. They have a thing where the whole thing auto dubs in English,
Oh my
and you have.
God, really?
I had to turn it off so I could hear the original tone, the original sound, the original German. So if you don't speak German, you can watch it in dubbed. So Gartmann Reus, Gartmannreus. Look it up on YouTube. It's his wife who seems very sweet. She's got a great personality. There's a lot of lifestyle blogging. Anyway, sometimes Marco Reus grabs the camera.
Great extensions.
And Marco Reus,
not just a great personality, also great hair extensions.
excellent hair extensions. But I'm trying to stay on track here, but I also want to give her some props in a second. I'll give her props later.
All right. We are
So
trying
Marco
to connect
Reus,
this to the CCL file.
Liga MX.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring up a systemic thing that I brought up before. That Montreal Impact coach or that DC United coach, what was his name? Lolero, I forgot his name. The guy who was challenged by the players union to be less rough on the players, and he was fired for it over at DC United for creating, I don't know, a toxic work environment or something.
Okay.
And then I want to say that happened in Atlanta too. I think the Atlanta players sued. Was it Frank de Boer or one of them? Pretty much, I've seen this runner here in MLS 2 or 3 times where players have gone to the union, complained about standards, and the players have won. Right? I've never seen that anywhere. It's like you don't see that in the Bundesliga. You don't see that in England. You don't see that in Mexico. Anyway, during one of these Gartmann Voice episodes,
people are soft. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're cutting through to my thing, but essentially, anyway, during one of the Gartmann Voice episodes, Marco Reus takes his camera to LA Galaxy, and behind the scenes, which is really cool, you don't see that much. So he goes in the players' entrance, and he goes straight to the full buffet they have for everybody. And this buffet is nothing but quiche and bacon and toast. And Marco Reus brings up this giant thing of Nutella. He's like, "This is poison for me. Like I could eat this whole thing if I wanted to, but I'm trying to behave and I can't." Then he goes over to the drink counter, and it's a full soda machine with Coke and Sprite, regular, not sugar-free or none of that. And he's like, "Look at this." And pretty much, he's like calling out the club to be like, "Look at this! Look at this! You can drink Coke and Sprite if you want. I won't. I'll just be
this is not
drinking
nutrition, right?"
No, and I'm just like, why is that? And also, again, I got so much here. Do you remember when Brad Friedel was fired by the New England Revolution, and he went on radio at BBC Scotland and complained about this exact thing?
Oh, when he was coaching, yeah, he was saying everybody's soft.
When I came in for my interviews, I went into the canteen, and the whole refrigerator was full of Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Doritos, Cheetos, chocolate bars. I mean, and like this on my interview, and I walked in, and it's my fridge now, but I'm 50, I'm allowed now. And so
he went to BBC Scotland, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm at New England Revolution. I opened the fridge; it's full of Pop-Tarts or whatever, like for Coke and stuff, you know." And he's just like, why is any of this stuff here? And, you know, and like literally, they have a full chef staff, and it looked like a full hotel breakfast with nothing but quiche, which is like carbs. It's like, shouldn't they have a nutritionist making nutrition? Like, what is this? And all this is to say that, I mean, I think it's very easy for an MLS player to not be disciplined. And I think the environment, compounded with the fact that the league doesn't have relegation and the league has this sort of weird postseason where 8 to 9 teams per conference get in, and it's kind of a jumble jam. Like you could lose for, you know what I mean? It's just the environment in MLS, A, doesn't lead to super competitiveness. And B, I think the players union just has way too much power. I mean, if I have a feeling that if the LA Galaxy try to restrict, I have a feeling that if the LA Galaxy take the Coke machine away from this professional sports organization, they would be like sued
People
by the
would
players
riot?
union, and they'd be demanded to return the Coke machine. You shouldn't be drinking Coke. You shouldn't be eating quiche.
These people, they can't pick up a can on the way home. Like they gotta
That's what I'm
get it
saying.
if they want it.
Toronto
All
FC
right.
once did this thing where players had to report their diets online and all that stuff, and they thought that was nuts. I'm like, I thought that was standard. Right, they're professional athletes, Bjorn. Why are they eating Nutella, drinking Coke?
Well, I mean, I think this is a debate that transcends MLS. I think this, this is always, Arsene Wenger at some point had
right.
all these,
No more ketchup. Remember?
Had all these opinions about what people should put in their body, and I mean, this is always, like, do people do better when they're so tightly managed, or do they feel like, is it better when they have some freedom? I think these are questions that are eternal, right? Like when it comes to human quests for excellence.
But my big point with all that is I'm seeing a pattern. Like I just gave 3 or 4 examples of clues here. In the Bundesliga, okay, you don't see the Borussia Dortmund players eating like a pile of carbs. Hold on, in the Pulisic documentary that Vice did years ago, Christian Pulisic, with an interviewer, goes to the restaurant next to Borussia Dortmund.
It's just water and sand.
Pretty much, not sand, but like Christian Pulisic's like, "Hi, our nutritionist said I was supposed to eat this," and he ordered a special dietary meal as prescribed by the nutritionist. And I was like, "Yes, that's a professional sports organization. That's an athlete who they spend millions of dollars on." You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So when this MLS Liga MX debate, I think looking at the rosters is a little bit of a red herring because the rosters to me are similar. And the MLS players, like the tippy-top MLS players, they have the bigger salaries, not the Liga MX players. I think the Liga MX players have better average salaries overall. Like the team from top to bottom is probably much more comparable. Where an MLS team, it's like very top heavy and the bottom is quite the bottom. So I think there's a difference there.
I think that's...
But I think that's a red herring because it's just like I think there's much more to the environment that these clubs are creating.
All right,
because MLS is its own little bubble, and they love playing each other, and the MLS staff really only cares about MLS Cup. And, when the minute a club has to go play in a real tournament, it's like 5-0 losses, getting spanked.
And in Liga MX, things are super tight. Like there's no carb restrictions and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
At Liga MX, the players have less rights. I know that.
Okay.
The way Liga MX works is the players don't dictate where they go; the owners do.
So they have to. They're thin because they're scared.
Well, I'm not advocating less rights, but I'm just trying to point out that Liga MX, I think it's more dictatorial, more like we're the owners. We say how it's done. Where in MLS, the players can wind back and win. Liga, you don't see that in other leagues.
All right.
So I think there's something to that. I think the Liga MX environment is just more competitive. The players are put under a stricter regimen, I would assume. And it shows when the competition when it's time for competition time. Liga MX teams made up of your Chicharitos, your Gio dos Santos, your Jonathan Bogusz, your Frankie Amayas, your Alejandro Zendejas, your Omar Gonzalez's, all these guys who we know, all of a sudden they're like twice the good of a team.
They put their back into it.
They put their back into it. So that's my thing. I think the MLS, we should keep an eye on the MLS being a little bit too soft of an environment for its players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Sure. Sounds good. I'll keep an eye out.
That was just the Schnitzel Boys video on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. If you like that one, we've got a couple other ones right over here. And if you like that one, don't be afraid to subscribe, like, and ring that bell.
It's the Schnitzel Boys, it's the Schnitzel Boys, it's the Schnitzel Boys.